Hello and greetings! Was William Wordsworth inspired to write a poem after visiting Conwy? Where can you find the most Denby plum trees? Why was the smallest house built? Where would you find Carera marble reliefs? And what exactly is Nobby racing? Let's find some answers. The churchyard at St Mary's Church in the centre of Conwy has several interesting local graves, including one of a local seaman who was on board a ship which defeated the French flagship at Trafalgar. The most intriguing grave must be this one, which is called the WR7 grave. The distinctive iron framework is topped with 7 crosses. Legend says, although there are doubts, that the great poet William Wordsworth was inspired to pen a poem in 1798 after meeting a young girl whilst visiting Conwy. The poem tells the story of how William asked the girl about the size of her family. The girl explained that she had 2 brothers and 2 sisters, but she insisted that we are 7. It became clear that the girl also had 2 more siblings who had sadly passed away and were buried in this graveyard. William was impressed by the manner in which the girl insisted that she was one of 7, even though 2 had passed, and most people would expect that the girl is actually one of 5. He titled the poem, "We Are 7." According to legend, souvenir hunters would break pieces off the tombstone which once stood here, marking the family grave. Eventually, little remained, when along came the arts and crafts architect Herbert Look North. He had adopted Wales as his home and settled in Snowdonia around the turn of the 20th century. He designed this iron cage to protect what was left of the original stonework. Many visitors to Conwy arrive by car, tour coach, or even by using the frequent local bus services. Not all tourists give a second thought for the railway trains which pass perilously close to the castle walls atop a precipitous ledge which clings desperately to the land beside the confluence of the River Conwy and the River Giffin. Conwy does have a railway station, and it is usefully located on the Chester to Holyhead main line. Train services stop here on their journeys to and from places as diverse as Holyhead, Chester of course, but also Birmingham, Shrewsbury, Cardiff, Crewe and Manchester Airport. The station first opened in 1848, but was closed in February 1966 as part of the famous or infamous Beeching cuts. When closed, the station had substantial mock Tudor buildings on both sides, with canopies and a footbridge. These, however, were soon demolished and gotten rid of. The station was reopened in 1987. Although its amenities are restrictive, there is an open-sided shelter, a customer help point, and displays which announce the arrival and departure of trains. When the railway arrived at Conwy in 1848, it had to pass through the ancient town walls. Robert Stephenson, the son of George Stephenson, was in charge of building the railway. He created an archway which was sympathetic with the town walls, but high enough to allow trains to pass through. When this train moves on, you can see just how closely they pass to the archway. The fertile south-facing slope just outside of the highest point of the town walls is where one can find an old community orchard. The site had fallen into neglect by the 1900s. More recently, the local community has set about maintaining and improving the orchard. There are several examples of apple varieties to be found here, some dating back as far as the 17th century. It's also apparently home to the largest known group of Denby plum trees. Intriguingly, each January local people revive an ancient rite by holding a wassailing ceremony. Basically, this involves local people turning up one evening after dark with an array of pots, pans and drums. They then proceed to make as much noise as possible. The theory is that this will wake the trees ready to provide crops in the year to come. The smallest house in Britain is probably not one of the better kept secrets of Conwy. Indeed, it's famous worldwide, and countless tourists visit it, eager to stand or crouch outside the front door. However, do you know how it came to exist? The story is quite intriguing. The story starts before there were any houses here at all. There was just what is now the rear wall of the houses, which is the original medieval town walls. Then, one day, a row of houses was built to the left of where we're looking now. This curious wall, with a slate topping, was originally the external wall of the last house in the row. After a while, the row of houses to the right side was built, these that we can see today, but a gap was left between the two rows, which is where the little red house is now. A while later, a stonemason realised that the gap could be turned into the house with the simple addition of a front wall and roof. The resulting house was cramped, but was easily rented out as a cheap home, partly due to a shortage of housing in the town. By 1900, the local council declared the smallest house and the row of houses to the left to be unfit for habitation, leaving them facing demolition. The enterprising owner of the smallest house was dismayed at the potential loss of rental income. Inspired by a friend, he endeavoured to prove that the house was indeed the smallest house in Britain. This status was confirmed by the Guinness Book of Records in the early 1920s. The owner then approached the local council and argued that it should be saved from demolition as it would make a fantastic tourist attraction. Eventually, the council agreed. Because the smallest house was constructed with just a front wall and roof between two existing houses, when the houses to the left were eventually demolished, this end wall of the demolished houses had to be retained, peculiarly complete with the roof slates. St Michael's Church is a relatively modern Roman Catholic church on Rosemary Lane in the shadows of the town walls. Walking along the top of the town walls, most visitors wouldn't give the church a second glance, and certainly would never guess what lies directly below them. A series of reliefs depicting the final journey of Jesus Christ are set into the town walls. The three-dimensional reliefs were made in Milan, Italy, from Carera marble, specifically for this site. According to a plaque dated 1916 inside the church, states that the reliefs were funded by Captain Lloyd Goring, and as far as I can find out, they were unveiled to the public in 1932. This fishing boat, which is usually moored alongside the quay at Conwy, is named Helen II. It was originally built in 1910 and is typically known as either a Morecambe Bay prawner or a nobby. These boats were typically owned by poorer fishermen who often caught lower valued fish. The boats are inherently stable when handling heavyweight nets, but are also able to sail quickly. This meant that the fishermen could get their catch back to shore quickly in the hope of getting the best price for the freshest fish. Many boats of this design have become preserved leisure craft with an enthusiastic following even today. If you're near Conwy in July, be sure to check out the Conwy River Festival. Owners of nobbies regularly attend and take part in the nobby racing. This year, 2023, the dates for racing are the 22nd and 23rd of July. Several of the original gates or entrances of the walled town are still in place. If you walk through any of them, be sure to keep an eye out for the vertical groove or channel in the stonework. Today, the gateways are permanently open. However, when the town walls were built, there needed to be a way of sealing these entrances if some invading army suddenly appeared. The gateways would be secured by dropping a heavy latticework grille, called a portcullis, and the grooves in the stonework secured the grille or portcullis in place. I hope that you've enjoyed watching this video as much as I've enjoyed making it. I'm not a professional historian, I simply enjoy discovering and learning about the world, whether local to North Wales, the northwest of England, or further afield. I've done my best to research the facts, and I've endeavoured to triple check that they are accurate. I'd love to read your comments, and of course I'd like to keep improving my work as this channel grows. Meanwhile, thanks for watching, and have a grand tour!